Welcome to Season 3 of the Builders Podcast. I'm Matt Levenhagen. Here we share the journeys, strategies, and lessons that help entrepreneurs build what's next. Builders helping builders. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by William Holsten. Welcome to the show, William.
Hey, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank goodness. It'd be terrible to start off with somebody who's like, I really don't feel like being here, but we're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
No, but William is the business mistakes preparation specialist. And you'll have to tell us what that means.
I'll correct you there. It's business mistake prevention specialist.
Oh, what'd I say? Preparation?
It's a preparation. You know
It's
what? If you prepare, you can prevent. So it all works for me. Thank you. Yeah.
It's my chicken scratch. I made a note.
Yeah. In my life, I'll go into the background a little bit, but in my life, I made a bunch of mistakes and I learned from them. And I wrote a book on how to avoid mistakes. So that's how I began calling myself the business mistake prevention specialist. Since then, it's grown a little bit. But if you like, I'll take a step back and give some of the backstory.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. We like to do that the first time we have somebody on, is to kind of get to know you a little bit, your origin story, and how you land, what the journey looked like to, maybe your first businesses or first entrance into making mistakes in this case, and what we can learn from that. And I think there's some games and stuff involved with this.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. My background, college was marketing and then business, MBA. And I worked for 38 years in a major corporation in consumer healthcare space. I was a brand manager on things like Bayer Aspirin and Alka-Seltzer and some consumer health brands you might have heard of.
Oh, my goodness.
In my final 10, 12 years at that company, before retiring 3 years ago, I had shifted over to innovation. And I was the guy they went to design and lead workshops to come up with new product ideas. Oh. And this gave me a skill set I didn't previously have on diagnosing customer user experience and helping people leverage that to come up with what might be a better product than what exists today by us or somebody else to solve a particular health problem. In my final 12 years at that company, I also ran a side gig with my wife and my kids that invented and marketed carnival and party games. And we actually backed into it a little bit. The backstory is this. Working full-time, loving the job, I especially when I got into innovation. And one summer, like in June, I got a call from my niece, my sister's daughter, who was doing a backyard carnival for Make-A-Wish Foundation. And they said, I'm one of 6 kids, and she had lots of aunts and uncles. And they were asking each of us to find a way to come to this carnival to help them make money. So we called a rental company and said, it's going to be August. It'll be hot. Let's get a dunk tank. Uh-huh. And most people know a dunk tank is where somebody's sitting on a ledge and somebody throws a ball. When they hit the target, people fall in. So we reserve that and we'll look forward to a great event. 2 weeks before the carnival, I got a call from the rental company and they told me, sorry, it's a drought in the Northeast. It was back then. We're not allowed to rent this dunk tank because it requires 500 gallons of water and we have to conserve. They offered me, do you want to toss across or something else? And I said, nah, we'll figure it out. My wife and I sat at our kitchen table, back of a napkin, and asked ourselves, how might we deliver the visual and splashing joy of a dunk tank dunk without all that water? And what we came up with, a game that's now called Pitch Burst. It is kind of an upside down one. We went to Home Depot and a sporting goods store and cobbled together this contraption that hangs a water balloon over somebody's head. They're seated in a chair and somebody throws a ball, hits a target, and a toggle pushes in the target, which pushes out a pin that pops the balloon and the water falls on the person.
Oh, wow.
We thought it was fun. So we put it together, we painted it blue, we put the name on it, and we brought it over to Pennsylvania for that day. That day it was maybe 96 degrees and really humid. So it was perfect for a water game like this. And This game, this pitch burst, was the hit of the carnival.
No kidding.
People lined up to be the one throwing the ball. They had to pay $1 for 3 throws. And they also lined up to be the one getting all wet. Meanwhile, their parents were all standing around snapping pictures. We thought this was fun. We went home proud, tired, but really glad we'd helped Make-A-Wish raise, I think it was $500-600 or something like that.
Nice.
The next day, the phone started to ring. People had called my sister, got my number, and called me to say, where can I get that game? I'm having a party. I want to rent that too. Where can we do it? Now, I'm a business development person at my day job, and I
Mhm.
begin to say, well, this sounds like an unmet need that I could meet. How might we do this? So we took a pause. We put the game in the garage. We took a pause and did the correct research. One was to see, was it done before? It had not been, so we found an attorney and filed a provisional patent.
Oh, nice.
Then we wrote a business plan on how this might be with us do-it-yourselfing it and launching it, but we needed money for somebody to make the games and the materials and things. So we took out a small business administration loan, almost $100,000, that
Oh,
paid
wow.
for building 100 of these units and a lot of magazine advertising into the rental industry. This was before lots of online opportunities. And we spent the money building 100 units and advertising. So in our first season, we went to a couple trade shows in the rental industry. We managed to sell 60 of these units during the cold season. And we figured, wow, I can probably quit the day job pretty soon. This is going to be successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it didn't work out that way. We had made them when we went to a shop to fabricate these games. We improved it a little bit. We made them foldable so they fit in the back of a minivan. So it was easier usage experience for the end customer.
Mhm.
But they were still made out of wood with screws and decals. And when we sent them out, the first couple phone calls were people telling us, my customer, this is the rental store, my customer loved it. I might want another one. I'll let you know. But within a week or two of warm weather happening, when they all were rented out, the phone call nature changed to be
Oh,
complaints.
oh.
The screws came out. The wooden part broke. The logo panel has peeled off. This is our customers were telling us their customers complained, and this is a piece of crap. Make it good. So I sent out a whole bunch of make good parts. I sent about replacements, and we did a whole bunch out of my own pocket of refunds where they were demanded. Because if I sold you something, I'm good for it, even if it's out of my pocket. It hurts.
Right, right.
I take it as a commitment I make when I sell you something. So we called that experience our uh-oh experience. It was unintentional. It was humbling. It was observable. And it really created a financial hardship for us, a customer hardship for our customers, and just anger on the part of the end customer. That was a very dramatic mistake to us. We overcame it. We took the rest of our unsold units off the market. We did all the make goods we could and went back to our drawing board and called each of our customers and asked them this question: if we could make this in a more durable way, we know you loved the promise, but you hated the execution. If we could make this in a more durable way, even if it cost you more money, would you buy again? And if I gave you a credit because you were already a customer, that made it
Yeah.
easier. To a person, they said yes. So we borrowed more money, which was really scary. Then we had an engineer, a designer, do it in CAD for us first, and then we had it fabricated for us in steel. I don't know how to weld or do any steel working, so this is all third party hired by us. And we had to borrow a lot more money because to make them affordable for the end customer, we had to do them in batches of 100. So it was tens of
Mm.
thousands of dollars where we were putting at risk. But we had confidence that the concept of the game works. And then we had confidence it wasn't going to break again. So that was my first experience in making mistakes.
I, this is like that was a beautiful story. I love the journey
It
you
didn't
just took
feel
us
good
in.
at the time, but
No,
yes,
I'm sure.
yeah, this
But I mean, it is
happy ending.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is beautiful from just it feels textbook. Like In the beginning, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what you do. You validate the idea first. You did this thing. You weren't thinking about going into business at first. You just
No,
created
no,
this thing for this
I was happy
party.
having a full time job and
Yeah,
doing nothing else. Well, kids, we were busy with our kids, but we
but this
did
is
this
a
together.
yeah, but this is kind of a something that's in some of us where it's like you see you there's curiosity there. You did something. There was some kind an unexpected result. People are
Mhm.
like excited about it. And you didn't just be like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, this is just our thing. We're not gonna, we can't do anything
Yeah.
for you. You're like, wait, business idea. And I know for myself, I mean, that's how I ended up on the internet.
Hmm.
One day I actually, for an offline business, I put up a website and somebody had me put an affiliate marketing link on my website. Somebody clicked it, they purchased, I got a commission. And I didn't understand that at all because I was not
Hmm.
I didn't understand what does that even mean. And I got a commission like a couple months later. I got a $40 commission in the mail. But and so that was like, what is that? And then you explore and then you do your research and then so you kind of did some similar. And then along the way though, you're validating the idea, you're basically and then investing in that. You had to have enough confidence at some point. You're like, you got a business model right there. But then through it all, materials is always an interesting thing. I've talked to people on this podcast even where it's like that first iteration is not necessarily going to
Yeah, I know.
be the one. It's like
Yeah.
no, because until you produce it and until you get it in enough hands, you don't know all the
Yeah.
potential problems.
There's a lesson there that I learned, and I'll move ahead a couple of years just to say we stayed in that business as a
Hmm.
side gig. I kept my day job, thank goodness, and we launched a second, then a third, and then a fourth game. At one point, our revenues were above, not annually, but lifetime, $2 million. So we had succeeded in penetrating and learning a rental and amusement industry itself, which I knew nothing about before we started.
Well, what was before we go that further? So what was you had obviously an opportunity to make the product and sell it to people that would use that product and whatever, or you could have been the one throwing the parties. Like there's could have been like different,
I could have gone into the party business and done it
right?
locally within the limits of my own time while still
Yeah.
working. And but it is an interesting choice because choice A was what we did, do it yourself. Choice B was become a party company, and then we would be buying more other people's games and using that. That's
Sure.
a lot of work, by the way. I really respect people who do that. I don't want to do that. But the third one, which did not occur to me till I wrote a book about the mistakes I'd made, was at that beginning point when we had validated at our carnival that this is a hot ticket,
Hmm.
and then I got the patent. I owned an asset I could have sold or licensed to somebody who was
Mm.
already good at marketing, making and marketing things like this. Instead, I learned them all the hard way.
Yeah.
And my book is all full of my mistakes across all 4 or 5 of these games. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or on a video, behind me are the patent drawings of each of those games. And that one is Pitch Burst, the first one.
Oh, nice. That's very cool.
They're there to remind me when I give advice on how not to make mistakes that I make everybody makes mistakes. And by the way, I differentiate the word preventable mistakes from general mistakes. When you're a startup, of course you'll make mistakes. It's how you learn. You ride a bike, you fall down, you get up and you ride it, and you improve your balance by repetition, by doing it again. The ones I'm focusing on and I live through are the ones that are preventable in that you could have and should have seen them coming. And when they happen, you kick yourself. These are not strategic mistakes like Ford selling Edsel a long time ago. They chose to do that. They did it with excellence. It was just not something the market needed.
Mm.
These are the ones when you have a good plan, a good team, a good business model, and you screw up on some of the execution. You forget something, you overlook something, you miss customer signals. Those are the kinds of things that I'm a business mistake prevention specialist. That's what I'm specializing in, having been there and having studied it.
So within that first game of the dunking game or the what'd you
Yeah,
call it?
pitch
Uh,
burst.
pitch. Yeah. Um, what was that mistake? Was it, because I
It
mean,
was
was it maybe we should only made 25?
well, it was actually a blessing that we made 100 and only sold 60, because if I'd
Mm,
been more aggressive and built 6,000 of them, it would have been a much bigger
oh,
problem. No, the takeaway is to really understand the customer experience first. And
mm,
in my case, it was an industry I was unfamiliar with, the rental business industry. And by spending more time learning that, we surveyed people and they said, yeah, sure, okay. But going there and seeing how they live and work, you understand that if you've made something out of wood and it goes out 50 times and it's handled very roughly by people putting them on trucks and not,
yeah, yeah.
you've got to think of something better. And had I gone into the stores more than I did, because I did go in, I would have noticed everything else was made of steel and it was unbreakable. And we did ask our very first paying customer, what happens if something breaks? And he says, well, we're a hardware store. We just fix it. And I took that for what he said, but that was not true. When
For all
something
of them, yeah.
when they broke, they pick up the phone. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was understanding the situation for the fit for purpose,
Mm,
and it was a hard lesson later. But I'm happy to be looking back at it and saying, yeah, I learned that. And to audience listeners who are doing this, it's about really understanding the customer experience and designing it for purpose.
mm.
If it is a new item that doesn't exist.
That's the thing about businesses, like everyone that's listening to this, if they even do any, if they, assuming they're all doing something, hopefully, go do it. If you're not, if you got an idea, go for it. Um, is that every business is different though. Sometimes you have to stumble upon those lessons, right? I mean, even if you like even as a matured business person doing it for years, there's still once in a while, like for me, like I think I know everything. I get a little too cocky, and then it's like,
Yeah.
then business
Uh,
is like, nope, you haven't learned this lesson yet.
yeah. In my book, I not only told my mistakes and some other very famous mistakes, I also put in from my workshop days 10 tools, 10 exercises and tools people can use to avoid mistakes like this. One of them is test and learn. And I
Mm,
call it make a Frankenstein prototype, make something up, give it to real people, let them use it, and don't just wish that it's going to work, observe and see what happens. The
yeah.
best lesson, and this is what I was getting at before, when we sold our patents and trademarks to another company after I had heart surgery and realized I couldn't continue two things at once.
Mm,
Um, it was a come to Jesus moment for me, and it was a good choice, and we got a great partner who bought us. But they bought the three of our game trademarks and patents and are still succeeding with them now. These games are still available. One of them was called Downpour Derby, another water game. It's up over this head, it's over here, where two players face off with each other. There's buckets over each one's head, and they race to put water in the other guy's bucket so that it spills on them first. Very visual, kind of fun. When we sold this patent to this new company, they redesigned it because their business base was not backyard parties or carnivals. Their business base was camps and water parks. So they took the
mm,
same concept and fitted it for routine use in a big water park. I went to their shop there in Minnesota, and they had built a new prototype using the principles in the patent, but in a new way just for that customer. And I saw it looked really cool. How's this going to work? Now that it's done, you're going to go sell it. I asked them, and they said, nope. We're going to give it to two of our best customers and let them use it next summer. And we'll ask them to kick the snot out of it. I love the phrase, kick the snot out of it. And at the end of the summer, retrieve it, have a download with them what happened, what went right, what went wrong, and then tweak the design to overcome all the problems. Yes, I might have sold my patent early and never got into this business, or I might have found a way before even producing those first 100 to do some Frankenstein testing or have some
right.
selected really high volume customers do the snot kicking.
Yeah, you see that a lot. Like, I mean, in software or on the web, like I connect everything to the web stuff, the
Hmm.
web development and software and all that stuff
Yeah.
because I'm in that game. But you know, like you got beta testers, you got before you just launch it to everybody. There's even ways like there's some of the affiliate or the systems out there will allow you to send it out to just some of your customers. Like you say how many, what batch you want,
Hmm.
and they test it and you get feedback. And so you don't have to send it out to your entire customer base right away. But even getting in somebody's like a friend's hands, like, hey, hey, can you? People do that with info products too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
read this book that I just wrote,
Uh,
and
on my book, I had beta readers, people
yeah,
who I trusted, not just friends, people who actually think and won't tell me what I want to hear, tell me what they really think.
right.
Yeah, but it's great. Your last thought reminded me. I was working a day job, and I was doing the running around with the game business at night, weekends, and vacations. And the day job had me go to a sales meeting where they had a guest speaker. I've forgotten the guy's name, but he was with the early Apple people. He was with Jobs and Wozniak as a chief evangelist. And his message to the audience there was, he said, "Don't worry, be crappy." He meant in software, you can put out your beta version and continue to update it without much cost as it grows and as it scales up. I was making a wooden pitch burst at that time, and I said, it never occurred to me it was crappy, but I was confident that it would be okay.
Yeah,
In the scheme of 20 years, which is how long ago that was, yeah, it was okay. But it was an extreme, painful period to go through.
right, right. Yeah, some things never go out of beta. Never
Yeah,
make it out of beta.
and should not. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's good. So okay, so you did the game stuff. I'm curious about how was just to take a minute on this, but what tell us a little bit about patents. How hard is it to get a like you had this idea. What was the thing that said I need to get a patent on this? What was it like just the uniqueness of it
yeah.
was
The uniqueness in my day job, we had worked on a lot of new inventions, new combinations of medicines, new
mhm,
packaging expert, and I never did it. The R&D guys did it. They filed patents, so we had a protection against being copied. So I
yeah.
had experience down that road. When I saw this unique kind of setup, I Googled, how do I find a patent attorney? And through that, I found a patent attorney, I think in Nebraska. I shopped around, talked to a few, chose somebody who was lowest cost, and he helped me. We sent him pictures, we sent him all the descriptions, and he wrote a draft. We reviewed it, and it was filed. The cost now must be more than it was then, but it was in a few $1,000s for that expertise and the filing, and then the maintenance of it, because after 7 years you have to renew something or other.
Or
So I'm a miserly guy sometimes, and when I went to do my second game, I went through all the things he did. Then I researched how to research and write a patent. So my second game, I did the patenting myself.
oh wow,
I
nice.
filed it. We
Yeah.
succeeded. We received the patent. But I learned that there is an art and a real skill to creating the claims that go in the patent.
Mm,
And the first lawyers on the Pittsburgh's game was a long list, really thinking of every possible permutation that protected. On my second game, which by the way is the middle one up there, it was much more limited because I wasn't as broad thinking. So when I recognized, even after I got the patent, I said, if I do this again, I'll hire somebody good.
mm.
So then we worked with a third attorney.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot involved with it because there's a million games out there too. Like you
Yeah.
got to be able to. You might think it's unique, but somebody thought of it already.
Well, and part of what you pay them for is to do the exhaustive research.
Yeah.
And what they sent me for each of the games I worked with a attorney on was it's about that thick of printed out paper of games in similar functions, designs, things
Right.
like that, that I had to be sure I wasn't infringing on.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So you did and then you sold those pens eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
Or these games.
After doing it for 9 years and standing at trade shows, and my knees hurt a lot. This is a short story. I would not be able to walk after standing in a trade show booth all day.
Mm.
And I wanted to get that fixed. So I was going to get knee replacement surgery, get both of my knees done. And I was going for the pre surgical doctor checkup. And they found a problem with my heart.
Oh no.
It
Oh,
was blocked. It turns out it was quadruple bypass was what was needed because I was clogged all the way up there. I'm
Yeah.
a lucky guy. I'm a lucky guy. I'm a lucky guy. Every day is a gift
Sound like
after
it.
that. So I deferred the knee surgery, focused on that. And it was during my recovery there that I realized I can't keep going this high intensity
Mhm.
day job where I was traveling the world and try to resurrect this business, which was running with a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So we found a partner. They marketing partnered with us for a couple of years, and then we sold them the patents and trademarks. And they continue to succeed with the same games.
Good. You know,
Those
that's
they're the snot kickers.
yeah. Well, it's I mean, it's interesting because your health is everything. And if
Yeah,
you don't have your health, and if you gotta you can be passionate about something or want to do everything, but sometimes you gotta dial it
absolutely.
back. And so where did that journey take you from there? What did
Well,
eventually led to what?
I went after we sold everything.
Mhm.
I consulted with them for a little while, but they were fine on their own. They were better than I ever was because they had a shop. They were engineers. They did all those things very well. I went back to being my full-time day job, which was running
Mhm.
workshops for new product ideas. In there was one. My company had a sun care business, and we did a sunscreen workshop at Rio de Janeiro at Copacabana Beach. So it was not only
Nice.
something I was good at, I really loved doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wound up retiring in 2022. After retiring, I said, let me get back to my story and tell the story in a way. So I wrote basically half the book. I wrote my story with these games and all the things in the heart and all the kinds of things I went through.
What drove you to writing a story? What did you think? Like what sparked? I should write a book.
I wanted to share the experience just to help others was my real motivation. But when I read my draft of just my story, I realized I'm interested in this. My parents are interested, but nobody else is going to care about this. So that's when I said, let me turn it into something which is actually useful. So I added in the second half of the book these 10 tools, just a description of things like using checklists in a smart way, going through and doing pre-mortems when you're at the beginning of a venture. Imagine it's 5 years from now when you failed. Try to imagine those reasons why you failed, and then fix them now before it starts. There's a range of creative exercises that can help you there. I developed a new approach. I call it uh-oh-ology. It's in the book. And that is learning from others' scary, bad mistakes so that you don't make them in your own business. It's analogous thinking. And the most dramatic one that's in the book is about a skydiver who was asked by his skydiving partners, can he film people jumping out of the plane so they get a great shot of this experience? This is the days before GoPros and smartphones. He had a film camera strapped to his chest. So they're up at 10,000 feet. They talk to each other, ready to go, thumbs up, good. This guy, his name is Ivan McGuire, jumps out of the plane at 10,000 feet, gives them the thumbs up, turns on the camera, and they jump out and their parachutes open. It's a beautiful, beautiful shot. They reach for their ripcords and the chute's open. Ivan reaches for his ripcord and it wasn't there. He had futzed
Oh
so
Lord.
much with this camera that he had forgotten totally about the parachute. He was very experienced, so this was a big mistake. And
Oh my
tragically,
gosh.
he fell to his death. So you think,
Wow.
how does that do anything for a business? Well, it's so dramatic. Try to think about your own business. What one thing, if it was ever forgotten, could maybe not tragic death, but could be
Oh man.
disastrous for your business? I
Yeah.
think of a inner city retailer who leaves his door unlocked at night and everything gets stolen, or a restaurant where the pilot light is left on too long and something burns down, or in an office situation, the guy responsible for renewing the insurance on something forgets to, and then 2 days later, something terrible happens. There are for each business, and I invite your watchers, listeners to think about yours. What one thing could really dramatically change the course of your business success? And they exist.
They exist. Yeah. And
Uh-oh-ology.
sometimes you live with them and
Yeah.
or you live through them and you wish 5 years ago you'd have thought of that.
Yeah. Uh-oh-ology.
I've
So I've
experienced.
translated. Yeah. I've translated that into a monthly newsletter I send out called Oology, and each month it's a dramatic example of
Oh,
something
nice.
that is in the public eye that we can learn from. Last month we talked about the Olympic medals that in the Winter Olympics that broke. They came off of the ribbon when the winners were jumping around. The lesson there was a bit more of this pre-testing to be certain, because you're on a global billions of people stage. That's important. So we always ask, what questions might you ask about these things?
I love that. So, so just, I'm going to pause just on the book minute. Cause I'm thinking I might have a book in me someday. Maybe I got a few
If you're
decades of experience of,
if you're inspired and believe inside yourself you've got something to offer that
yeah,
you often are sharing anyway, you probably do.
yeah. I think a lot of people probably do. I mean, I've talked to people that are older than both of us that are like writing books, and
Yeah.
I'm like there's a gentleman, he's been on this podcast. I think he's 80 or he's almost 80. Very sharp gentleman. He's like, he's just a smart guy. But I'm like, and I thought about him, like he's writing his like third book or something, if I remember right. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's, there, if you get, go through your life, you have all these experiences and all this stuff, and you pass away someday, all that's going to pass away with you. All
Mhm.
those lessons, all those things and life experiences and stories you could share. And there's so much value there, that, yeah, why not write a book? But so the experience of writing a book, is there any lessons, other lessons in there? Like, I mean, I found it interesting because I was something I learned years ago where it's like you write something and you always have something actionable at the end of it, like something that, to do, like the next step,
Mhm.
instead of just leaving somebody hanging, just write the thing. In what you said is basically, with this checklist, you got something for them to do. Instead of just, telling people some stories and whatever, and then like, okay, that's it. I don't have anything else for you.
Sto-
But that
sto-
was kind of that next action, a call to action to do something.
Stories, if you're famous, if there's drama. But even when professionals, and I don't consider myself a professional writer, but even professionals are doing this, they're always expressing it in a way that drives, focuses on a problem and delivers some type of solution. If it's a famous person, what turmoils they went through and how they solved it and overcame. There,
Hmm.
I think, if I like to read things, I love mysteries, I love thrillers. I always like to try to guess the end, but
Hmm.
it's not a run-on narrative. There's a point to each chapter. There's a point to each paragraph and sentence. And
Hmm.
to get to that point, honestly, what I wrote in Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Word has a function in the review function, whatever it's called. You click a button and it reads it out loud. So you can go paragraph by paragraph, listening to it. Take a few days after you wrote it, come back to it and listen to it, because that always gives you insights. That didn't make any sense, or it's not telling a story. Try to make a point of each point you want to make, and be selective. Which ones are the most valuable? And you also, by the way, have to think of who's going to read this. If it's
Right.
me, for my kids, my grandkids, it's going to say I did this and we had a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
if it's for an audience of founders and entrepreneurs, and I reached this point when I wrote my first draft just about me, they're going to say, so what? If they even pick it up, what's in it for me? So it's always delivering something of value in their terms, not mine.
Yeah, yeah. Even podcasts, or like I did a solo podcast recently. I'm telling, going deep into my kind of my personal story,
Mhm.
but I tried to keep in mind who my audience is. Like, who cares about Matt's? I'm not like
Well,
a famous
I,
guy or
I
anything.
do. I do. And to me, you are famous, but I get what you're saying.
But no, I mean, like, who cares what I did back? I'm talking about the 90s in this case, right? Back in the
Mhm.
90s, I did these things, but then I had this thread, and I took it, and like at the end, hopefully I have that lesson. Like, this is how you could apply it to yourself. This is actually all of our stories, and that was my goal anyway. Hopefully,
Mhm.
hopefully I delivered. But that's interesting. I was just interested always in the process of writing and somebody writing a book and stuff, and then yeah, I always like to ask those questions. And then you got it published through who? Out of curiosity,
I self-published.
you self-published.
I
What does that
had
mean?
written a kid's book years and years ago and failed miserably at finding an agent, finding a publisher, and I tried that again and I got closed doors, so I just wrote it myself.
So you wrote it yourself, and then where do you publish it? What do you mean by self-publish?
Self-published. The process of writing, I wrote it, and then I hired editors from some online source to be able to read it and give feedback and be sure it was a quality book. Once I had that, I hired a designer to lay it out as a book. And he also laid out the cover. In a minute, I'll pick it up and show it to you. And then it's up to you. You have the files. Basically, they're simple PDFs of both the cover and the internal of the book in the correct formats, and you upload them to Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
It's as easy as that, and it's as free as that. But then it's up to you to do some marketing to drive some demand to it.
Right.
There are other companies I use. One is called Ingram Spark. You can upload it there, and you can buy printed copies from them.
So you do that on Amazon too? Can you sell a printed copy on Amazon?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
You can sell a printed copy, and you can order for your own purpose and your own stock. They call them author copies. So you can order a bulk if you want to resell them yourself.
Nice. Yeah. That's very good. What I love about you too is like you're not trying to do it all yourself. You're always like, I'm not a graphics person. Let me get a graphics person to do the illustrations or whatever you got going on in your book. And
if you want it to be a quality thing, I knew my strengths are telling the story, not in formatting the story.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So you want to show the book?
I'll just hold it up.
Yeah, hold it up.
It's called
There it is.
How to Avoid Unintentional Blunders That Derail Entrepreneurial Success and Goof-Proof Your Business. First third is my set of mistakes and what I learned from them. The second is a bunch of famous mistakes like Ivan McGuire, the parachuter. And the third are those 10 tools I talked about.
I like how it's structured. That's cool.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in coming back, I mean, we covered your story today. I tried to dig into, like, ask you questions about what you're doing, but maybe, this could be breaking into thirds. No. Next time we'll be talking about other people's stories. No. Next time, I think if you want to come back and talk about more, we can dig more into those lessons and maybe some stories that you can tell related to those things, those 10 things that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd be really happy to. And since publishing this and calling myself this business mistake prevention specialist, it felt hollow to me because I only had my own experience in there.
Mm-hmm.
What I did to learn myself was I did a national study of 300 entrepreneurs to learn what are the causative factors, what contributes to making these preventable mistakes.
I love that.
That study got completed late last year. It's now been published. Be happy to talk about that with you next time.
Oh, I love that. Very good. All right. Well, William, thanks for sharing everything. If somebody wants to, even now, what they know about you, if they want to reach out to you, they want to find you on the World Wide Web, where do they find you? Well, you can find your book on Amazon. Where can they reach out to you? If you hang out anywhere out there?
My website is my name, William Holsten, HOLSTEN.com.
Congratulations. It's nice to have your name for a website. That's
makes it easy for me not to forget it.
That's why I feel bad for the people that don't have like common names like Matt. I have Matt Levenhagen, but there's not that many Matt Levenhagens out there. Luckily.
That's true.
All right. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.